Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where you'll hear stories about people who truly believe that they're the center of the universe and that nobody else matters, just like this person right here. So this was emailed to me by Lainey, thank you very much, and it reads, older model car parked on local street. Can someone do something about this? I've tried the police to no avail. We pay a lot of money to live in the neighborhood, and it's so outrageous that we should have to look at cars with such a low Kelly Blue Book value. Ain't that something, my friends? Some people can be a little bit too snobby and entitled, right? Like, I wonder what this person said to the police. Can you come and have this car towed? I'm kind of sick and tired of looking at it, as it's pretty ugly and old. My friends, if you think that is entitled though, wait until you hear the stories in today's episode. I hope you enjoy them, and do remember to hit that subscribe button for future tales. So, as a quick background, I'm a 23-year-old female, and I'm not a makeup artist. I really enjoy doing makeup, and I'm good at it, and sometimes I'll do my friend's makeup if we're going to a party or other event. However, I don't actually have the materials, such as shades, to accommodate anyone who's not similar in tone to myself. Now, I also should make it very clear that I see makeup as a hobby, and I also lead a pretty busy life, as I'm a full-time college student and I do have a job, none of which are makeup related. So my roommate's sister is getting married in April. I've met her about twice. So I was in the kitchen eating my cereal when my roommate comes in and begins describing a conversation that she had with her sister. To summarize, her sister had been saying how she didn't want to pay for a makeup artist for her and her bridal party for the wedding, when I could just do it. Now, her bridal party consists of herself, her 4 bridesmaids, and her mother. The wedding is a 2-hour drive from my apartment. This alone sets me up with a 10-hour unpaid day. To add to this, the wedding's on a Monday, which I would usually work an 8-hour shift, which is paid. I also don't have the makeup that matches the bride's or any of the bridesmaids' skin or eyebrow tone, so I would potentially need to purchase this. Now, I did ask my roommate how much I would be paid to do this, expecting a smaller sum than a qualified makeup artist, but surely enough to cover my travel and any new products that I had to buy. Now, I also want to note that I would not be expecting an hourly rate or anything. And she replied saying that I would not be paid at all, and since we're roomies, that I should just do it for her sister as a wedding gift and a favor. Now, to add to this, I would also not be invited to the wedding. Also, I'm not a professional. The concept of doing someone's entire wedding party's makeup sort of freaks me out. Like, what if I mess it up or it doesn't last all day? I'll just be blamed for a bad job when it's a very stressful request. I really think this needs to be shamed, particularly as my roommate doesn't seem to see anything wrong with it. If you want good makeup, pay for it. Don't ask any favors from people that you barely know. A little bit of human respect goes a long way. If you can't afford to pay people for their time, don't have such an expensive wedding. Am I overreacting to this? So OP is definitely not overreacting. First off, I hate the fact that they basically volunteered OP without even asking first. Just expecting her to do it, which that in itself is some super entitled BS. On top of that, they expect OP to shell out her own money for supplies, miss a full day of work, and drive 2 hours to do the makeup and not even get an invitation to the wedding. But my friends, going through the comments, OP does in fact decline, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so last week I ordered something online and was having it delivered. I was very excited, and yesterday morning the shipping company updated their website to indicate that the item was on the truck for delivery. Approximate time for delivery was 7 p.m. So I kept my eyes peeled for the item, and about 7:30 I noticed my neighbor was getting something delivered using the same company. So I go outside and approach the delivery guy and asked him if he had my package. He then asked for my name and my tracking number. When I told him my name, he then said, "Oh crap, I just delivered your package to the wrong house. But no problem, I'll go get it back." So with that, we go up to the door and knock. My neighbor then answers the door, and when the driver tells him about the error, instead of saying, "Oh sorry, I'll go get your package," the guy says, "Well, it was delivered to my house, so it's mine now." And then he slams the door. Now, we stand there looking at each other in stunned silence for a few seconds, and now the driver starts pounding on the door. The guy comes back out and tells us to get off his property or he's gonna call the police. The driver then responds with, "I don't think you're stupid enough to call police. Please, just give us the package back as it doesn't belong to you." So with this, the guy then takes out his phone and he dials 911. He then tells the operator that there's trespassers on his property and they won't leave. He then gives his address and tells them to hurry, as he's afraid. He then closes the door again, in our faces. We go to the end of his driveway and we wait for the cops. When they show up, the driver explains what's going on, and the cop says, "I wish this was a rare occurrence, but this happens more than you think." So the cop knocks on the door and he asks very politely for the package, and the guy responds that it belongs to him, and that's the end of it. The cop then asks to see the package so he can confirm the shipping address. If he refuses, he'll be arrested for theft. So the guy then laughs at the cop. The cop tells him that he's gonna have him arrested and asks him to step outside. Now, at this point, the guy's wife comes out with the package, which thankfully they hadn't opened. The cop inspects the package, confirms my address, and all's well. The cop then places the guy in the back of the squad car and tells him that it's great he returned the package, but he's still arresting him for theft, and he's gonna have to spend the weekend in jail, and he can take it up with the judge on Monday. Now, at this point, the guy is freaking out. His wife is freaking out, and the cop looks at me and he winks. After pretending to fill out paperwork in the front seat for a few minutes, he then releases the guy, and he tells him that in fact what he did was theft, as he accepted a package and signed for it when it wasn't his name, and then he refused to give it back. If he does this again, he's gonna be arrested and charged next time. I then take my package and go home. About half an hour later, there's a knock on the door, and it's my neighbor. The guy's trying to apologize, and I just look at him and say, "Get off my property." He then tries to explain to me saying, "You would have gotten your money back by putting in a claim against the delivery company." My response was simply, "When?" So let me start off by saying that I absolutely hate package thieves, especially ones that sign for a package knowing full well that it isn't theirs. Like, what a scummy thing to do. Like, if OP didn't go out there and talk to the guy, his package would have been gone. I also love how he tried to say, "Oh, you could have gotten your money back by putting in a claim against the delivery company." Like, really, sir? You steal a package, and then you try to justify it by saying that OP could have gotten a refund? like maybe the cop should have arrested him for being such a scumbag. So this person says, "My old roommate was a postman. Packages got delivered to the wrong address all the time. If you didn't sign for it, they couldn't prove you had it. But if you did sign for it, they always arrived with a cop. They knew it was gonna be a fight." But guys, with all that said though, props to the cop for teaching the guy a lesson though. But the real question is, do you really think he learned his lesson, or is he gonna keep accepting random packages to his door? Okay, so this just happened to me yesterday, and it stands as the biggest what the F moment in my job. So a little bit of background. I work as a contract cell phone technician for a large superstore chain in my country. My job duties entail selling/activating phones and assisting guests with technical issues with their phones. Due to me being a private contractor, I don't answer to any management staff or employee for the superstore. I'm essentially my own boss. On top of this, I do have the right to decline service to anyone. However, I never do because I don't want to turn people away just because they're having a bad day. But after what happened today, I'm going to enact my right to do so for any future encounters. So today, I was minding my own business when I was approached by the mythical Omega Karen. Now, Karen was an old woman who had what looked to be about 4 layers of makeup on her face and a haircut so big that she looked like she was smuggling a basketball. She explained to me that her phone was not working, and being the ever so helpful person I am, I got to work in diagnosing the problem. After doing a quick inspection and tinkering around with the phone, I came to the conclusion that the phone was bricked. I told Omega Karen this revelation. The exchange went a little bit like this. She says, "So what do we do now?" I told her, "Well, ma'am, unfortunately the best course of action would be to replace the phone. Luckily, I have the same phone on sale for $49.99. With that, Karen says, "I'm not buying the phone. I bought the phone from here, so I want it exchanged." I then asked her, "Okay, ma'am, do you have the receipt for the old phone?" And this is when she went from a nice old lady to Omega level Karen. She says, "Listen, I bought this phone almost a year ago. I don't have the receipt. I bought it here and now it's defective. Your company has to honor this purchase and replace this broken piece of crap free of charge. Now, I soon realized that this was gonna be a gong show, so I decided to try to Tai Chi the situation in an attempt to mitigate the damage. I said to her, "Okay, ma'am, I understand that you're frustrated, but unfortunately, due to the store's policy, we can't do any exchanges after 30 days of purchase." Now, after the words left my mouth, I realized that I royally messed up, and she was ready to retaliate. Karen says, "BS! You're just trying to Jew me out of 50 bucks. I am not having that. It's not my fault that this is a cheap piece of crap. If anything, it's your fault it's broken." Now, all of my whats were expended after hearing this. She actually was blaming me, a guy she's never seen before, of breaking her phone. I told her, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but there's honestly nothing the store can do for you. However, because you bought the phone less than a year ago, the warranty should still be replaceable through the carrier warranty. Now, I would be more than happy to call." Now, at this point, she interrupts me by picking up my stapler and threatening me with it. Karen says, "You will give me a phone right now, or I swear I will throw this at your face." So I tell her, "Ma'am, threatening me is not gonna solve your problem. Now, as I was saying, I can call up your carrier to see if they can replace it under their warranty." Now at this, Karen throws the stapler to the ground, breaking it. She angrily grabs her broken phone, told me to go F myself, and she storms off. Now after she left, I picked up my stapler and I threw it out. I then continued with the next guest. Now, I really wish it ended here, but unfortunately, it didn't. So about 5 minutes after she stormed off, she returns, but she wasn't alone. Karen did what every Karen dreams of doing. She got the store manager. And it wasn't just him, she got the security guy as well. The store manager comes up to me and says, "So this woman informed me that you won't assist her with her phone. Would you mind telling me why?" I then explained the situation to the store manager, who is looking so angry at me. He then interrupts me halfway saying, "Okay, so at what point did you throw the stapler at her?" Wow, so at this, I was shocked as well as speechless. I told him, "I never did that. In fact, she was the one who threatened me with the Karen then interrupts me and says, No, you threw the stapler at me. And then you told me that you were gonna choke the life out of me. I want this man arrested for assault." The security guy then approaches me, and he says, "Is there any way you can back up your story?" I told him, "You can check the cameras. They most likely caught the whole interaction." Now, as soon as I said the word camera, Omega Karen goes ballistic. She screamed that they should believe her over anything else. The security guard then says, "Ma'am, we need to make sure to get the full details of the event so we can better explain it to the authorities." Karen says, "I don't want to wait for the police. Just fire him and get me someone who can help me. I just want a new phone." This is when the store manager finally pipes up and tells her the bad news. He says, "Unfortunately, ma'am, he's a private contractor that handles our phones. We can't fire him because he doesn't work for the company. Now, if he did what you say he did, it would be best to get video proof, and that way we can escort him off the property and deal with him." Omega Karen relented, and the security guard goes with the manager to look at the footage. They then come out not too long after and said that they saw Karen grab the stapler and screaming at me, and then throwing it down. At this point, the manager tells her to leave before this escalates into something bigger. Karen then says, "You know what? I'm gonna sue all of you. I don't need this. I'll see you in court." As she began to walk to the door, she notices me smiling. Now, I soon regret doing this. She was so angry that she came back and she smacked me across the face, and then she spat at me. Luckily, the security guard did subdue her. They then called the police, and shortly after, she was handcuffed and put into the back of the squad car. The police then asked if I wanted to press charges, and of course I said yes. Once I got done with the paperwork, the store manager apologized to me for what happened. He then informs me that Karen was blacklisted, and she's to be arrested on site if she were to ever come back to the store. I'm currently writing this laughing at the whole situation. What a crazy story, my friends. Some customers do lose their business over the smallest things. She should have just let Opie call the carrier and deal with her cell phone. There was no need to have it blow up to the point where she ends up slapping someone and getting arrested for it. And it definitely wasn't worth it over a $50 cell phone. But that's retail though, guys. I have a friend who worked at Macy's and she said once a month they would have to call police because some crazy customers come in and would yell at employees about returns. Like, some people need to realize that yelling and getting loud a lot of the times will get you nowhere. So my next door neighbor, who my friends and I call Crazy Pants, was a very nosy and very entitled woman who tried hard to tell everyone who lived in the same street what they could and couldn't do. Her adult children were equally spoiled. My neighbor on the other side of me, who we'll call Gina, was a mother of 3 who works in the local supermarket. She's the sort of person who, if you tripped her up, she would apologize to your foot. Now one day, her husband John gets a new job, which came with a company car. Nothing special. It was covered in logos for the company, but it meant that Gina could use the family car whenever she needed to. Some of the houses where I live have driveways and some don't. Gina's has a driveway, but it only takes 1 car. So as they were liable for the company car, that took up the space in the driveway, and her car would either be parked in front of my house or my neighbor's, as neither of us had drives. It's also a public road, so anyone can park anywhere as long as they don't block a driveway. So one day, the entitled daughter bangs on Gina's door. Apparently, she was annoyed that Gina had been parking in front of her mother's house. She said that space was to be left open for her when she visited, and because Gina was in the space, the daughter had to park in front of my house and walk the whole 5 feet to her mom's house. Oh, the humanity. And this is when Gina made the following mistake. Gina says, "I'm so sorry, but isn't that OP's house right next door? I'm sure you don't have to walk far." With this, she responds, "How dare you? That's my parking spot. Why do you have 2 cars anyway? You're just a stupid checkout girl." Now, it was at this point that John overheard and demanded that the daughter leave. So the entitled daughter does what a grown woman of 40 years old does. She whines to her mother. And this is when Crazy Pants goes into overdrive. So over 6 months, whenever Gina and her family stepped out into the garden, Crazy Pants would come out and shout at the kids for being too loud, or at Gina for wearing slutty clothes, as Gina wears bikinis in the summer. She would also turn up to the supermarket that Gina worked at, and she would hover around giving her death stares. She also called social services and told them that Gina and John had been putting out cigarettes on their children. She also called police and told them that Gina had been starving her cat, and she didn't even have a pet at the time. Also, every time her car parked in front of Crazy Pants' house, Crazy Pants would bang on the door screaming about her parking space. Now, poor Gina tried everything. She recorded the abuse and called the police and the council, but they were only willing to give a warning. Her work could not remove Crazy Pants as long as she wasn't doing anything, and she could not prove who called social services. In an effort to help, as we were between the 2 neighbors, my dad decided to let our hedge grow to block Crazy Pants' view of Gina's garden, so she could have peace, and it did work for a while. Then one day, we get a knock on the door. Our house is council-owned, so all the necessary maintenance work is carried out by them. A man from the council stood there to let us know that the new fence would be up by 4 p.m. The next thing we heard was the sound of a hedge trimmer. My dad storms out and demands to know what was happening. Now, apparently, we had called the council regarding the very slightly wind-damaged fence between our garden and Crazy Pants, and agreed to have it replaced. Now, we didn't call anyone. In order to put the new fence in, the hedge we had needed to be removed. There was nothing we could do. We made it clear that no one had called anyone, but because the fence was damaged, they decided to continue, and there was nothing we could do. Lo and behold, the next day, Crazy Pants was leaning over the fence, and was back shouting at the children. Now, I would love to say that Crazy Pants got what she deserved, but Gina eventually cracked and sold the car. She then paid £600 for a new fence. After she got rid of the car, the harassment stopped as quickly as it started. Gina's fine now. She now has a management position, and a new dog who likes to play with mine. Guys, talk about a nightmare neighbor, right? And to think, all of this started because Gina parked in front of Crazy Pants' house, which is public parking. I'd love to hear a pro-revenge on this neighbor though, wouldn't that be sweet? And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. Guys, we survived another one. If you enjoyed the stories today, do hit that thumbs up. And if you missed yesterday's episode, a Karen calls the cops when OP's neighbor refuses to sell his land to her. It's such a crazy story, so check it out if you haven't, and myself and Steve will see you guys in the next one. We love you.